How does someone bet money on you? Like, take me in that room when, who's your investor?
We have Piyush Bansal, we have Carrot Capital, which is run by Pankaj Bansal. We have Akash Anand, and we have Mr. Alok Cobra, who was the head of Goldman Sachs. Well, until a year or two back, everyone was, rolling in cash. Startups, engineers are making 6, 7, 8 lakhs a month. That's coming down again. Again, we are in a very interesting time right now. What should one study today? So I think creators, where they lie, they are building their own audience. But if they launch brands eventually, they don't need to spend ads, ad money or anything. If you remove that cost, you're a profitable company. If we execute right in the next 3 to 4 or 5 years, we can be a multi-billion-dollar company. And I say this confidently.
You really blew up on Instagram. Yeah. I don't know how that happened. When I first saw you blowing up on Instagram, I was like, let's see before they rich shame him. Yeah. Let's see how long will he last. Will he have a thick skin?
Yeah.
First of all, India has a big aspirational audience.
Definitely.
That aspirational class that really wants to witness what would be like Rolls Royce ki piche baithna or flying in business class or being in a big house. So when you decided to document your life, I was like, I want to see if he gets cancelled or if he rises. And you did. You've got 100K followers on Instagram by showing, I guess, exactly what your day is like, which is perhaps for many a dream, right? So as a founder, your other two founders, they're not very active on social media.
No, none. Yeah.
It's just you. So I was wondering, you built this distribution for fun? Was it so that it's easier for you to, acquire customers?
I think it's a mix of both. So what people don't know about me, I was a filmmaking student for 4 years in LA. So I studied communications, and a part of that was filmmaking. So everything from cinematography to editing to sound design. I've made over 25 short films.
At Pepperdine University.
Yes, acted in around 10 of them. I've just been in around this whole media world, assisted on a few films, some major films as well, interned at some production houses, started podcasts before as well. So I've always been super interested about this, this whole shebang of social media and media as a whole.
Right.
I had a podcast back in college with friends that didn't work, that didn't do well. So I thought the problem was not the content. Maybe it was that, I have to get some famous people on.
Right.
So I started a podcast with Arnold Schwarzenegger's son, who was my co-host, Joseph.
Right. Now it makes sense. I think someone reached out to me at some point in the past over email. I don't know, ek do saal pehle, saying that they had a podcast with Arnold Schwarzenegger's son and if I would wanted to host them.
Yeah, no, that was me. So I think a few years back, we were trying to get TraqCheck's name out there.
Right.
And I wanted to get on podcasts.
That's so fun. Mujhe ekdam pe yaad aaya because that was the angle, right? Like whenever you're doing podcast pitch emails, you figure out the angle.
Yeah.
We're the fastest growing, we have these guests, or we're the only persons with, I don't know, whatever. That's crazy,
So I had a podcast with Joseph, and, he already had a big following, of course, being who he is, and even that didn't work. So then I was like, that's just, maybe I'm not like an interesting person, right? Or maybe Joseph wasn't interesting enough, but I don't know. So, and I started YouTube a few times in college, vlogging. I once vlogged for 70 days straight, obsessed with the whole Casey Neistat form of
So you've done your
vlogging.
due diligence in content.
Yeah, man. So now that the growth has happened, 4 months I've gone from 0 to 100K, and I'm getting these 2-3 million views on a vlog.
Right.
I think it's happened because I've tried it so many times and it's failed so many times that I've learned exactly what works. And when I make my vlogs, I make it from a filmmaking point of view. So I did filmmaking for 4 years in LA, right, which is the mecca of filmmaking. The plan was to do something with filmmaking. That didn't, pan out because of COVID and what all. And, I started my tech company. But I was always interested to still do something in the whole media, space. And I guess, I don't like to, say that I make reels. I make like mini like vlogs or like it's like a short movie, right? Which which I actually wear my filmmaking hat when I make these vlogs. They have a setup, a conflict, a resolution. I look at 3-point lighting. I look at framing every shot.
Oh shit!
So I actually dive really deep into this shit, right? And I think that's why it's doing well, because I know how to make something interesting and entertaining. I mean, I can edit a professional film on Final Cut or Premiere Pro. I can do color grading. I can do sound design. So like this comes really easy to me. So like making a 1-minute vlog about my daily life is super easy for me to do. And I think I wanted to, and so that's one part of it, because I love doing it. It's so much fun. I do have a successful company. I'm not doing any brand deals. I don't want to do any brand deals. It's just I'm just doing it for fun, right? They're doing well, so I guess people are now noticing it. But I think so. One part of it is definitely from a fun point of view. Second part, I think, is that eventually personal branding is the only moat anyone will have in business.
Right.
And why I say that is, in today's day and age, everything can be replicated. 7-8 years back, tech could be a moat. Tech is really not a moat anymore. Like with the way AI is going and with the way, advancements are coming in, the world of tech, and everyone has access to these tools. How hard is it to really make a tech company today from a technical point of view? It's not that hard. You can find a few engineers. You can, use so many tools available, no-code tools available, to build a nice website, to build a nice platform. There's so many no-code platforms available. I think that the only moat that one will have in the future is their personal brand, because that can't be replicated. So, obviously right now my priority is my tech company, TraqCheck. That's all I do. I'm obsessed with it. But in the future, I'm only 26, God knows 7-8 years later what I'm doing. Maybe I've exited my company. Maybe, it's reached a maturing point and I want to do something else. Starting a brand or something like that, if you already have a personal brand, that could, it is a big moat. And, we're seeing it in the West, we're seeing it with like creators like Logan and, KSI. These guys started a beverage company. How hard is it to make a beverage? You and I can go and make a nice,
Yeah, you can basically white label anything.
Exactly. And that's pretty much what they're doing, right? I'm like, maybe they're putting in a lot of work and thought into the design aspect and all, and, they're tasting everything, but it's not like, someone with a few, $10,000-$20,000 can't go and make a nice, prototype of a drink. The distribution they built over these 10 years of vlogging and YouTube and, their podcasts, $1 billion in sales, that's more than Paytm's revenue. If you think about how crazy that sounds, Paytm is one of India's largest tech companies. I don't think,
and it's a unicorn, right?
Yeah, I think it's worth, I don't know, maybe 8-10 billion plus, if I'm not wrong. It's a public listed company. Everyone uses this. And here there are these two YouTube guys who, are doing $1 billion in revenue. And that's one example. You see it with so many creators in the West. You see it with Chamberlain Coffee, or you're seeing it with, it's not coming to me right now, but there's so many creator brands in the West that have, done well. And that's going to happen in India as well in the next, 5-6 years, when disposable income becomes higher, when, there's more purchasing power. I think when, there's going to be a bunch of these brands built on personal branding that will beat brands that are relying on ad spend and, Google ads, because that's so expensive.
Right.
So coming back to the vlogs, it's a mix of both. It's definitely because I love, editing and, shooting. Also because I want to build my personal brand. And and third, definitely it helps. I think more people have heard about TraqCheck and my entrepreneurial journey from my vlogs in the last 3 months that they have in the last 4.5 years of building this company, right? So like, now I'm getting like, a lot of VCs are reaching out, a lot of big investors are reaching out.
All because of your videos.
Definitely, because at least they get to know about my company, right? Because we're a B2B company. It's perceived as boring from an outside, perspective that, we are doing background checks.
And you haven't done personal authority building on LinkedIn through, vanilla essays and shit.
Yeah, but you know why? Because I thought about this, that if as a founder, if I'm speaking about or I'm giving advice to someone on how to start a company, today you can go listen to Elon Musk and Nikhil Kamath online. Why will you listen to me, right? So, you know, a lot of founders, you know, young founders that have $20-30 million companies that are doing well, right? Like, but, you know, at the end of the day, like, you know, anyone can go and search up a Elon Musk podcast on Joe Rogan, or, you know, Kamath has started one, and so many big entrepreneurs. Like, who the hell am I? Why will people listen to me? So how do I make my personal brand interesting? So I put a, you know, a satire twist on my daily vlogs. So
you get hate?
I do, but I don't
in the comments
think,
or in your DMs, what's more vicious?
honestly, it's not too much hate. I do get that. Okay, so in India, of course, there's a massive disparity, right? And hate is obviously will be prevalent, but it's not. Honestly, it's not that bad.
What kind of hate do you get?
I guess it's not really hate. It's like people, you know, saying that, oh, my company is only doing well because I'm from a privileged background, which doesn't really make any sense, because if I tell you how much money we started the company with and to what it's become, it's not that we put in crores and crores of money. We put in 2 lakhs each between the three of us. So we put 6 lakhs in total, and today's the company's worth what, $14 million. We already speaking on raising again at a double valuation. So we're talking around the $30 million mark right now. So we put 6 lakhs and now the company's worth $30 million. It's not that we pumped in crores into this company. I'm not saying that 6 lakhs is a small amount, but it's a manageable amount, you know, for someone who is maybe in their mid to late 20s or early 30s. They can, you know, save up for a few years and have that, you know.
And very honestly, even if your seed funder is your family, that's fine. Like, the reason I really wanted to bring you on beyond your vlogs is because I think you're one of the only people who's become very comfortable and has not skirted around the conversation of privilege. You're very open about it. And I think in India, we privilege shame for no reason at all, because people assume that if the story is a rags to riches story, that it's more relatable. The richest of our country spend so much on their PR to look like they're from the ground and they're rooted in their values and whatnot. But mujhe aisa lagta hai ki it's so great that you know, someone worked really hard before you. And definitely you would not want everyone to start from zero, right?
No, you know, it's not that. Of course, I'm an idiot if I don't understand my privilege. I do realize my privilege. I am super privileged. But I think the real privilege I had when I started building my company is that I could afford to do something for a few years without making any money and still have a roof over my head and, you know, food to eat. That's the extent of the privilege. Of course, it's a nice house and nice food, but that doesn't really help my company, right?
Sure.
And we are in a B2B space. It's not like, you know, an MNC will give us their background check contract, which is a heavily audited sector, right? Like, we work with some of the biggest companies in the world, right? Some of the big fours are our clients. It's not like these people are just giving me their $500,000 a year contract because I'm from a privileged background. They won't care, right?
Yeah.
So again, my privilege was that I could afford to try for a few years without getting paid, where a lot of people don't have that privilege because they need to pay bills. Luckily, I didn't need to pay bills, so that was my privilege, I would say, which is a massive privilege because it took us TraqCheck is 4.5 years old. We just started doing well, a year and a half back. That's when that's when the founders started to earn some basic or good salary now, I would say. For the first 3.5 years, it was just, paying our employees and paying our rent. There was, nothing that we could take off from the table because we were also bootstrapped back then.
Yeah, the privilege conversation is something, I don't know why people feel like it's such a touchy subject. Mujhe to aisa lagta hai, bro, like I was saying before, it's very cool that someone else worked hard for you before you. Like, I would not expect my kids, when I have them, to have this conversation to justify it. In India, people don't realize that you can actually increase your family's wealth and family's fortune. People think of everyone as a single sum actor working for themselves, and they have to be lauded by the masses in order to win. If when I have kids, I'm going to make sure my family extends and it becomes the estate's wealth. That's how you really think about it.
And I'm from a very strict family, so very strict on education. I had to study in school. I had to go to a good college. Had to get a degree before I tried anything. So, and my family is not, it's not like go and spend this money. It's like always had a very, strict allowance. And definitely, of course, when you live with your parents, you are living in their house, and also I guess for my vlogs, my backdrop looks very nice, but if that's my room and that's my backdrop, I can't help it, right? What I mean. But yeah, I mean, I think the whole privilege thing is definitely a interesting conversation.
For me, it's always funny when people say it, because like, what would you do? Will you stop working because someone else made money? Like, I don't, it doesn't make sense to me. What makes sense, what is surprising to me is that kids who are born into means rarely have the drive to do something of their own, right? Yeah. Mostly they're very happy. And I'm making a massive generality, by the way. They're mostly happy becoming the next generation to grow their family's business. For me, what it doesn't make sense is how come you're obsessed when you've been provided for all your life. And I say that people ask me the same, and I don't have an answer. I just think some people are just DNA coded to be a maniac and just build something out of thin air.
No, man, for me, it's, I know it's a cliched word, but legacy, I genuinely feel like it's an intangible thing, but that is something I genuinely work for. Like, when you do something good or build something big, and when, it leaves a mark and people are talking about it, years and years after you've, even passed on, I think that's super cool.
Yeah.
And also, like, as you said, I'm just wired different. I always want to like do more and build more, and like nothing is, always enough. And this drive is not from a material point of view for me. I think this drive is more from just doing something big that's leaving a mark. It's a very proud feeling when, for example, my company, it was an idea that, me and my co-founders had. And today there are 50 people that, are working with us. Their livelihoods depend on it. 200 corporates that are using us. We've done over 750,000 background checks in India. That means we've helped 750,000 people get jobs using their own data. Because sometimes, how we look at background checks is not like we're catching someone's bad, report or something. We are empowering them with their own data to get jobs. So if someone has some kind of a civil case, and it's nothing serious, it's maybe a divorce case or something, but there was an FIR filed or something like that, and they aren't getting a chance to work because a traditional background check company is saying, oh yeah, they have an FIR on them. Those guys are not being able to get jobs. We dig deep and find out what the FIR is, and we tell the hiring manager that it's not affecting his work life, or it's not a negative FIR. It could be a family dispute. It could be a property dispute. Why are you black labeling him or her and not letting them get a job? So I think it's really cool that we've, empowered so many people to get jobs and build something big that's now going global as well. We are launching in the UK in around 2 months from now. So I think that feeling of like pride in building something cool, adding value to the country as a whole, that's super cool. I think that is my drive. And plus, man, how I look at it is, you live once, and I want to do the max of my potential. And again, I'm so young, I have so many years, and if I keep going, I genuinely think we can build something super big and do cool stuff. So
I've rarely met people who've switched from such a creative hippie like discipline of, I know वैसे filmmaking hippie वाली नहीं होती, it's a lot of work, but still to switch. Okay, what I'm going to say is like, as someone who's from a creative discipline, whose training is in filmmaking, you go in to start a tech company. Something I think about a lot is when I think about scaling or building a product or a service. I've tried many times, but I just either get bored or I feel like it takes away from my knowledge and my functioning or training as a podcaster. Then is I don't have tech knowledge. So ab teri zindagi going from like jump cuts and L cuts, whatever, to talking about how do we add value, investors ko khush karna hai, cap tables and shit. It's a whole other world, right? So what's the learning curve of that like? Because there is a way in which my entrepreneur friends who have raised money speak that jargon that is not a part of the world that you come from.
Correct. So interestingly, in college, I did filmmaking, but also media in like a holistic point of view that would had a lot of public speaking in it as well. And I think for any entrepreneur, coming from a media background is super important, because if you can't sell
Yeah.
your idea to your investors, to your customers, to your employees, your vision, no one's buying it, right? So I think for me, that's really worked, that I, use my talents in, let's say, speaking or I would say media and knowing how to persuade people, right? Or just good rhetoric. I can convince someone that, my product is the best, which it is, by the way, but I can convince them it is. And I think that's really helped. But also, look, in today's day and age, if you want to really scale a company, it has to be a product, and tech is blowing up, right? Especially in India. I think I kind of stumbled upon background checks and software as a whole.
Yeah.
It's also largely because of my co-founders. One of them is an engineer, worked at a few tech companies in America. So I think it's a good combination of someone who, has tech, someone who, I look at growth and, vision, and my other co-founder, because the three of us looks at more of operations and sales as well. So I think it's a really good team where all of us have that. And some of the greatest entrepreneurs haven't come from a tech background. You look at Steve Jobs is the biggest example, right? Look at Adam Newman, Adam Newman, founder of WeWork.
Okay.
Now, whatever happened with WeWork, that's a different story. But the fact that he could build the fastest growing startup in the world for 7-8 years, not coming from a tech background, it's pretty commendable. So I just think that a lot of people who are engineers, and a lot of people ask me, a lot of super smart IIT guys, now they're DMing me because they've seen my vlogs and they ask me, how do I start a company? And I speak to some of them, and the biggest tip or advice I tell them is learn to speak better, learn to sell your idea better, because you can be the best engineer in the room, which you're from IIT Kharagpur, you're definitely a great engineer, but you're not being able to convince me that you're going to build this thing,
Right.
So if you can't convince me, who's going to take a bet on you, right? Because maybe you don't believe it yourself, right? You have to genuinely believe it. So I think speaking and being able to sell your vision is a lot of the startup game, definitely.
But okay, I've been bootstrapped for many years now, right? Doing well. How do you figure out कि भाई हमारे को पैसा चाहिए, हमारे को market से पैसा उठाना है, and then let's go and meet these investors? Because whenever I see my friends, they're busy preparing pitch decks and saying मेरी इस VC से बात चल रही है, उस चल रही है. How does someone bet money on you? Take me in that room when, who's your investor?
We have a lot actually now. We have Piyush Bansal, who's Lenskart, Shark Tank, obviously. We have Carrot Capital, which is run by Pankaj Bansal, who founded People Strong, one of India's largest HR companies. We have Akash Anand, who's founded and I think sold Bella Vita, India's largest perfume brand. And we have Mr. Alok Obra, who was the head of Goldman Sachs Wealth back in the 2000s, and now is the chairman of Everstone. It's a $15 billion,
So how did you convince these giants to pay money to you?
Honestly, I think the best thing we did was stay bootstrapped for as long as possible. For the first 3.5 years, we were bootstrapped. It's such a distraction, fundraising. It takes up all your time. And a lot of early stage founders, they think that fundraising is the end all. It's not. We genuinely built our product, got initially all the business. We went from 0 to 50 lakhs a month in sales without any funding, without any sales people. It was just the founders that were cold emailing companies, knocking on doors, sending messages on LinkedIn, literally just hustling like crazy. If you raise money very early, that discipline goes.
You get soft?
You tend to spend more than you should. You get these fancy offices, and you get all these fancy salespeople and lawyers and accountants, and that's all. I would say definitely it's important.
You get a whole founder's office associate.
Exactly.
Employees,
I see people that are doing 20 lakhs of business a month who have a chief of staff and an executive assistant. I'm like, that's not smart. We have been profitable since day one. Every month we've been profitable since its inception. That business discipline is the reason why I would say we are growing so fast now and growing so profitably.
And how do you not overspend? What glamorous, useless things did you do away with that typically other businesses?
You come to an office, and for the size that we are, office is very, very basic. We don't have a fancy office. We don't overhire. We don't have these, fancy positions that people, think that you should have, like a chief of staff. I still don't get what the hell that means. You're not running for president that you need a
No,
chief
I think,
of staff.
but generally people get chiefs of staff when they're not very operational themselves. When you're a vision-centric founder who's up in the clouds a lot of times, it's difficult to be operational and down in the weeds. I think whenever I hired my chief of staff, that was the reason. But yeah, it's very difficult to then think about the justification for the job in periods of when you yourself as a visionary founder step down and get in the weeds.
No, man. Early stage, a founder should be doing everything from hiring to pitching to building the product to, just figuring out your GTM strategy, what your plan is, your budgeting. I think that discipline teaches you so much. So for example, TraqCheck, because we were bootstrapped for 3.5 years, we were so careful about how much we spend, our payment terms with our vendors, our payment terms with our clients. The fundamentals of business are so strong of TraqCheck that now when we have funding to grow, the growth can be exponential without worrying that we'll, crash the car or sink the, ship. And I think from a fundraising point of view, we didn't actively go out and fundraise. Our plan initially was to create a bootstrap company, make it, into a big top line company, it was already profitable. So there was no really need to raise. I think it was an ambition switch that got me and my co-founders thinking that, it's fine to make a big company in India, but how do we make a global software company? How do we, make the next Infosys or the next Tech Mahindra? And that's not going to happen without fundraising. And luckily, because we were already at a good scale, a lot of investors were reaching out to us on, a daily or a weekly basis. That's how we met some of these investors. Some of them, their companies were already clients. And we just found good synergies with all of them. Piyush, of course, was a client. Lenskart was a client. They used us and they loved the product. So he came on board, and where I talk about Pankaj, who of course is a mentor. He built one of India's largest HR companies, HR tech companies called People Strong, and he really is known as the father of HR in India, and he wanted to invest in us when we met him, and that was a good validation for us that we're going in the right direction. And I guess now we've figured out our product. Of course, we are way past PMF. It's doing well. We know that with the correct funding, which we are getting now, we can expand and explode. And now the growth is, we're growing 4x every year. So I think now the next 5 years is going to be exponential growth for our company. But that's because the fundamentals have been so strong since day one.
So these guys invested in you because they liked the books, they liked how much money you're making, and they figured it was a good idea?
Dude, no startup or software startup is profitable in India. So the fact that we were a profitable software company, that was really a shocking point for all these investors. How you done this? And I think that was a reason that they invested in us. Also, our market is so big. Background checks globally is a $10 billion market.
Right.
So the potential is so tremendous. If we execute right in the next 3 to 4 or 5 years, we can be a multi-billion-dollar company. And I say this confidently. I think we will be. It's all about executing it right. If we don't fuck up from here, if we don't mess up, I think we'll be a really big software company, and it'll be a very proud thing, because mainly the big software companies come from the West. We want to be an Indian company that goes global, and that's why we incorporated a company in India. We never took the Y Combinator route, or we never went and started a C Corp in America. We want to be an Indian private company. We want to grow from here. We want to have clients globally, and we want to.
Sorry, how much did you raise?
I can't disclose it, but it's a
ऐसा क्यों होता है? I don't know. Like, is there a reason why?
I don't know, man. Like, sometimes the investors don't want to disclose it.
Okay.
For certain reasons. I don't know.
Well, that's why the news says raises around, but it doesn't say the.
So we were very open about our valuations.
Okay.
The first round we raised at a $9 million valuation, which I think is 74 crores. Second round was at around a 14 million, which is around 120.
How do you get valued by just the amount of revenue you have?
I think it's software companies have a multiple on your revenues,
Okay.
Which are looking at other big software companies and what they are trading at in public markets or much more.
But you're not publicly listed, are you?
No, of course not right now. We're too young to be a public listed company. But it's just seeing other companies, what the growth can be, how fast the company is growing, how good the tech is, the founders. It's a huge bet on the founders because at the
so the valuation is also just the value you place on the founder, like economically, like
it's like how much this company you think is worth today and could be worth in the next few years.
Is there a formula for calculating valuations?
There is. So you can go really technical into all that, but for VC funding and software spaces, it's more intuition that this is the revenue, this is a similar company in America is trading at this much in public or private markets. Maybe we should give them this valuation. These guys are growing this fast. The founders are good. We believe in them, and we think this company could give us that outcome.
Are you scared that as you go along this path, you're going to be distracted and fuck it up? Is there like some self-sabotage thing? Because what I'm saying is sometimes what happens is we get, despite the fact that we've been working in the trenches for so long, sometimes we get it's just one day or one night, one flick of the wrist and everything changes and suddenly you're richer than you could possibly imagine. And the temptation to press the red button increases.
No, man, I think like with me, I genuinely am very passionate about it. It's my first company. So sometimes people, first try 5-6 things and then something works. Touch wood, very lucky and...
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
I'm kidding.
But, so yeah, man, like my first company. So it's genuinely like it's like my baby. It's been almost 4.5 years since I graduated. This is all I've been doing, like day in, day out, 12, 15 hours a day, 6 days a week. I've lived for this shit for the last 4.5 years. So many people that we've, hired among the, in the journey that have become like friends and like family members. Now I just feel I have a massive responsibility, not only financially because now we have investors, but also to my employees, to my customers, to myself, that not everyone gets this opportunity to build something big. A kid from a filmmaking background who wanted to direct, act, produce, write movies now is running a tech company. So I think that opportunity is you don't get too many in life. And I know that if I just put my head down and work hard for the next 5-10 years, I could really build something massive that I will be proud of for the rest of my life. So for me, it's something that, I'm super, super passionate about, doing.
I grew up with a dad who was a good businessman, still is. That really helped me understand money and how the world works. And I learn more and more from him even now. Do you seek your family's counsel for business? Because I'm sure like when your family does not discuss money, when they keep those things in the shadows, it's often very hard to understand what to do about money, right? So you either live in a scarce mindset or you have to sort of figure it out from whatever cheap poor dad, rich dad you can find, right? But it really helps when you have a businessman in the family or a businesswoman in the family, right? So from that standpoint, how do you view wealth?
Man, I've grown up in a business family, seen business day in and day out. My grandfather and dad built a pretty successful company, so I've grown up around that. I used to go to office with my grandfather sometimes just, for a fun day trip. And I was always fascinated by this thing called business, where so many people are working collectively towards, one mission. And definitely I take advice from my dad for business because he's run a company for 30-40 years. So
Similar company?
No, not tech. It was in garment manufacturing. So they were garment manufacturers would supply to big European brands for clothing. And some football clubs, I don't know if you're a football fan, they used to supply to Arsenal football clubs.
That's pretty crazy.
So the jerseys and all the merchandise was made by the family business, but not a similar business. My dad really doesn't know much about technology, but from a business point of view, definitely, just business ethics, how to grow, or even like stuff like accounting and, GST issues and, TDS issues. A lot of young founders, don't pay attention to that, and then it bites them in the ass.
100%.
You have to know about all that stuff from day one. Otherwise, people will take you for a ride and, make a fool out of you. So that's one thing that we did from, that I always take advice on. And I do this. I mean, we have such great investors now also. I can call them and discuss such legendary people. But it's always good that at home you have someone that you can discuss, is this the right thing I'm doing? Because at the end of the day, I'm 26, I'm making these big business decisions, right? So it's always good to speak, of course, to my co-founders, and they speak to their families as well. But I like to speak to my dad also for advice on if I'm doing the right thing. And of course, when someone's worked for 40 years, they have so much experience that you should use it. If you don't, then,
Right. You can't dismiss it as a new age guy that you know everything.
No.
I mean, I personally suffered a lot in the initial years of starting my podcast because I would make my own invoices and I didn't have a software because I was like, who's going to pay for a SaaS-based software? And so I would routinely fuck up the invoice numbers. And that was so stupid. It would be an embarrassment for everyone who would send me back the invoices saying, this is wrong, this doesn't have a stamp, just nonsensical stuff.
Yeah, man.
Eventually I delegated it and took care of it. And it's just one less thing off my books. Many people don't know this about the Mahabharata, but there is a passage in the Mahabharata which talks about how to be a king. My friend Ami Ganathra has written the book. It's called Mahabharata Unraveled Part 2. One of the first advices to a king is to wake up every morning and sit with your accountants and really sit and analyze the figures and see how much your kingdom's treasury has to ensure that the treasury is full. We don't often think about that. I think when we're chasing a vision, we often just think about the vision. We fly so high like Icarus that we often get burned, and we forget that actually it's the money is like the butter beneath your feet that you can walk. No, bad analogy, but money, you need money, and you need to make sure that your money is flowing in steadily. You need to make sure कि पैसा कहाँ आ रहा है, कब आ रहा है, कितना आ रहा है, कहाँ रुका हुआ है. And something as simple as having a bullshit subscription for a software you don't buy, you don't actually use, and over a year it stacks up. That's 12 months of, say it's $100 software, 12 months, that's $1,200, right? And that's over 3 years, that's $3,600 just wasted. So people tend to ignore that once they feel like they've become successful, become
even
profitable.
Like personally, this is an exercise I did, really cool that you brought it up. We all subscribe to, OTT platforms and this subscription and that subscription.
Right.
I sat down that day and I'm like, how much am I spending on my personal subscriptions? And the amount scared me. And I was like, why do I have this? I haven't used this in 4 years. Why do I have this premium thing or this platform? So it's good to go and cleanse it from a personal point of view.
100%. Like, मेरे को ConvertKit every month charges me $99. I've barely used the software. I'm not using my newsletter right now, and I'm just looking at it.
Exactly.
They've charged me for so long that they've gone from ConvertKit to just Kit, and I haven't changed my ways, which is a good reminder, by the way. But these things really stack up. I'm wondering, because you've got people like Piyush Bansal and these other gentlemen that you mentioned on speed dial. At what point do you call them, and is the advice specific in nature, or do you ask for abstractions? Ki, help me with a mental model or some shit like that.
Again, investors like this, you should use them more for bigger vision things, because if they've cracked a $1 billion outcome, they know that if you're going in the right direction or not. So I, use my access to investors more from a vision point of view, whereas is this the correct path or the correct direction I'm going in? Not for really smaller things, because again, there's such busy people and they've invested in multiple companies, but I use them more for if I'm like, are we going in the right direction? Should we do this step? Should we go global right now? I kind of discuss these kind of things with them, which I think is super beneficial from a founder point of view.
What was it like living in Malibu?
Oh man, best 4 years of my life. Best 4 years of my life. I don't know if you've seen the show 2.5 Men. It was...
it took place in Malibu?
Yes. Charlie Sheen was in it. And I grew up watching that show. And it's funny because we talk about manifestation. And I grew up watching that show with my dad. And we always would, talk about, damn, dude, Malibu looks like such a cool place. There's guys living the life. And I always, used to manifest, one day I'm going to be living like Charlie Sheen in Malibu, it's going to be fun. And lo and behold, like I got into this college called Pepperdine University, and I didn't even know where it is when you apply to, so you've gone through, you were in Boston as well. You go through the Common App and you apply to all these like 40, 50 colleges. You don't even remember where all you've applied. And I got into this college and I saw the location. I was like, God damn, someone heard me, it's in Malibu. And that was just no looking back. And I was like, I'm going here. So it was really cool from watching a show that was based in Malibu to going to Malibu, living there for 4 years. Different world. I think the person that went to Malibu and the person that came back 4 years later was a different person,
But Malibu isn't exactly the intellectual hub of the Western world like Boston or New York are.
Definitely.
It's more laid back, LA, hipster, paradise.
I think you get a mix of everything. You get, of course, so LA is 20 minutes away from Malibu. You get a lot of entertainment stuff there. For example, Hollywood, the A-listers, they live in Malibu in their beach houses and all. So if you go for a meal or you go to even a Subway or a Starbucks, I've bumped into everyone from Pierce Brosnan to Daniel Craig to every single person under
all the
sun.
Bonds.
All actually, both the Bonds, right? Amazing kind of exposure you get to, such people where Malibu is pretty empty. So it's not like it's like very crowded. If there's a Pierce Brosnan sitting, you can go and talk.
There's no, like it's not urban, like it's not densely populated.
No, man. Like, I mean, you can go and have a conversation with any A-lister, any big person you see. But I think the cool part about Malibu was, and LA as a whole, was that you get a mix of entertainment people. You get a mix of course, Hollywood, social media, which is, blowing up everywhere now, and a lot of business people because Silicon Valley is not that far.
Right.
So a lot of people who have companies in Silicon Valley or are founders, they do have second homes in LA or Malibu, or they spend a lot of time there.
Yeah.
So you kind of really meet a lot of interesting people. And I think college for me was an eye-opener. Luckily, I didn't go to a college where there were many Indians. I think I was only 2 or 3 Indians in the whole batch, which
crazy.
is nothing, right? Like normally,
It's a Christian university, right?
Pepperdine? Yes, it's a Christian university. You don't tend to really see many people so people that go to really, I would say like the famous, like the NYUs and all, like you go with 10 of your friends.
Or even state schools, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're going with 10 of your friends or 50 people from your city or, your country. So you like stick with them and you stay with them.
Yeah, it's called going to a country to become a global citizen, but you sadly become a second-class citizen, because I don't know if you've noticed this, particularly in grad students. Kya hota hai, they're set in their ways. They feel like they're on the down and out. They develop this massive colonial complex where they feel like Indians together, Indians safe.
Yeah.
Right? And so they will have this innate resentment for life. They're there. They're in the promised land. And even then they feel like they must have safety in numbers and only hang out with Indians. And then the 4 years or the 2 years go by, and then like, I want to go back again. This time I'll do it differently.
I think it's more from a comfort point of view.
Yeah.
I have so many friends, and I love all my, friends that I grew up with, and they all went to colleges in the States. But today, sadly, they don't have even 2 friends that are not from India, from their colleges, right? Whereas, and also I don't blame them, because if I also went to college with 15 of my friends or 5, 10 of my friends, I would stick with them. It's just, you're more comfortable.
So it was probably harder for you in the early years.
Man, I was thrown into a Christian college in the furthest from Delhi. The furthest you can go, like in the world, is Malibu. You're on the tip. Of
it's the
West Coast.
edge of the Western world,
right?
In Californication, that song.
Exactly, man. This was my college dorm, and this was the beach, and there was the Pacific Ocean. I couldn't go further, and I had no Indians with me except 1 or 2, but I was not really close to them, and I had no option but to step out of my comfort zone and go make friends with people that come from all over the world. And that changed me as a person. I have friends from South Africa, from Kenya, from Kazakhstan, from America, all over America, from places in Europe, Australia. So that really opens up your worldview. and you're like, shit, man, there's life more than, Bollywood and cricket, right?
Right.
There's more to life than this. And I think that really opened up my worldview. And I started hanging out, a lot with people from different cultures, and that really grew as a person. People had different interests, watched different sports, different movies, read different books. And I think that really helped me. I'm sure you had the same experience.
No, I had something very similar. In fact, maybe quite worse actually, because I was a very celebrated, successful kid. Won lots of awards, was on stage all the time, was famously considered to have the best English in my city, or in my school at least. And when I went there, it was just so many achievers all around me. And Boston, to matlab 16 colleges, right? Like it's just a hub.
Yeah, man.
And I can't translate the Hindi to the English, and I can't say it conversationally. I can't say it fast. So the first year was just realizing I don't even stand anywhere. Like globally, I'm no one, right? I was a big fish in a small pond, and this is a fucking sea, and I'm drowning. So it was tons of looking in the mirror and saying sentences again and again till I learned that. It was going out of my comfort zone and saying hi, I'm this, and feeling small and sheepish and weak as you do it. But the funny thing is, you can fake this until it becomes you. So I remember my life, actually pre-psychedelics and pre-college, I remember my life as something else, as this NPC 2D existence that had some major spurts where I went out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
But generally it just feels so 2D and so, I don't know, it just feels like a dream away. And after college, everything changed. I don't think I would have become so, I was semi-extroverted, but I became outgoing after I went to college. That changed.
Of course, I think definitely, again, when you're thrown into a college where, you don't, essentially speak the language, or even like the bigger problem is culture, right? The jokes that they are cracking, you have no idea what the fuck they're talking about, right?
So they're doing
exactly
NFL drafts.
Exactly.
Like, bhai, how do I even get into this, bro?
Right. And I think that is always, super tough to break into. Because again, their athletes, the ones they look up to are different. The sports they watch are different.
And everyone's just generally, like, people are generally so advanced, especially in California. Koi banda skater hai, koi banda.
Oh man, that's true.
Like there's surfers, and you don't have access to the sea, right? You have to be born in like a place in India near Goa where you can surf. Yeah. So you see, people are also so self-reliant. Yeah. They'll fix something in their dorm on their own, right? Like we have no respect for blue collar work. We can't do blue collar stuff on our own. We can't even fix our own cars. Right?
Yeah, that was always interesting. Something's wrong with the sink. Someone will go fix it. And we've never done that kind of stuff. So it's really hard to, fix that kind of stuff. But also just, college as a whole, I think it teaches you more about, I would say, independence. Especially when you grow up in India, you live with your parents.
Yeah, which is mostly most people.
Yeah, most people, right? At least till they're 18, 19, right? And going there and you're on your own, I think that's cool. You're, doing your finances for the first time. You're trying to find out your own kind of
time management. It's not a value that we're taught, right? It's not a part of our culture to be on time. It's not a part of our culture to respect other people's schedule. I think you really learn that when you're late for classes, late for assignments and shit like that. You're like, man, they really value this shit.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had a great time because I was in paradise. The place was amazing. Looked more like a resort than a college because the Pacific Ocean was there. I've seen it in passing, yeah. And I was studying what I love, right? Like film, and I was surrounded by people who also love film. And that was insane. Like just learning so much, watching so many movies that I've never thought, breaking them down, writing.
Learning the, kya bolte hain? Film students say, no, film language. There's a film language, yeah.
Film language. But just like script writing and breaking down scripts and shooting, stuff. That was really cool. Taking a camera and going around LA and shooting a short film. Yeah. That was the best voice of my life, best experience of my life.
What's a filmmaker I should get into that you like?
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele. Ye Key and Peele wala. Ye acha hai.
Jordan Peele, he's made Nope, Get Out.
Yeah.
Amazing movies, man. Like I think he's one of the best. He's if not already, he's going to be one of the biggest filmmakers. And this is a cliched answer, but I love James Cameron. Okay. I think no one can make a tentpole blockbuster like he has.
Tentpole blockbuster? What does that mean?
Tentpole is a film slang. It's basically a tentpole film is basically a film that is very larger than life.
Right.
Massy. That like Avengers is a 10 pole.
Sure.
So he's mastered that. Like he's mastered commercial cinema, Avatar, Titanic, $1 billion movies, right? That's super cool. And me, I'm not more of an indie filmmaker. I like commercial stuff. Like
business man.
Exactly. I want to I would always make movies in college also that people would want to watch.
Yeah. That's good. It makes sense because look, the indie stuff is very good for building taste. I think long term, what I'm really happy for YouTube is that it teaches even the most creative people product market fit, and you need to learn that. Yeah. Otherwise, the indie guys are always on the mercy of some award, some jury, some other gatekeeper. So you do something, the audience responds immediately. Your box office is every video.
Bro, all YouTubers are entrepreneurs. Literally, it's not easy to just to get people's attention. It is in today's day and age, right? Like let's say, everyone can post a video. If you're getting someone's attention for a long point, especially long form on YouTube, amazing. Like it's so hard to get someone's attention, and attention is always monetizable. So if you can crack attention, I think it's you're golden. And a lot of aspiring. I think the best part about YouTube and all is that it's not gate kept.
Yeah.
If you want to make a movie, want to write a movie or direct a movie or act in a movie, good luck. It's impossible to break in anywhere in the world, not only in India. But YouTube or any media platform, anyone can post anything. So I think that's really cool. It gives everyone the opportunity to express themselves. One of my favorite filmmaker / YouTuber, I would say he's a filmmaker, is Casey Neistat.
Of course.
Legend, right? This guy was a filmmaker who started uploading on YouTube because he was sick and tired of all the the studio bullshit and the business of making stuff for the studio. And this guy, his daily vlogs was more like aesthetic. It felt like a 10-minute film. And I think that's really cool.
Also one of the best video documenters of the city of New York. I think he's responsible for making he's responsible for making more of the globe fall in love with New York than any other New Yorker shots aate picture ke andar.
Definitely. And he's also he's a tech entrepreneur. He sold his company Beam for I think $24 million.
Really?
So this is happening with me as well. People are, now some people recognize me, you're the guy who makes vlogs. People don't even know that I made a company. Yeah. And sometimes they ask me, is that true or is that just like
bullshit?
Satire. Is it like satire? I'm like, I've stopped telling people that's the fun of it now.
No, what's that? Ek banda nahi hai that there's this guy called the rich kid online जो behave करता है.
The European kid.
The European kid, yeah. Who makes he's also a tech guy from what I know. He's a tech entrepreneur. But
he's actually co-founded a tech company which helps influencers and creators get brand deals.
Okay.
Super cool guy, and he's killed.
What do you think about this creator economy? Maybe you're on the side of it. Because
massive, man. I have two of my best friends, Apaksh and Jivesh. They run this company called One Impression. They are a tech-based platform where they help brands find creators. They've raised over $10 million
in India.
In India, man. Gurgaon-based company.
That's whenever I'm very, very like this. Ever since the pandemic, I've heard creator economy. The economics have been sorted. But I feel like there's just so many people connecting creators with brands, and I just feel like it's all a bubble. That's what I think.
No, man. If you think about it, in the West, it's happened, right?
Yeah.
Where creators have not only successfully made brands or done ads for brands. Think about it. If you have an audience, right? You can sell. If you have 1 million people who follow you, or even less than that. You can, if you launch something or if you tie up with a brand, you can sell it. At the end of the day, the brand, how does a brand sell? Any D2C brand runs ads.
Correct.
On Google or...
They have to fight for someone's attention.
Or Facebook. They're spending money, right? There's that whole ROAS thing. You spend 1 rupee and you get 4 rupees back in a good scenario. Some brands are spending 1 rupee and getting 1 rupee. And they're burning money also, right?
Yeah.
All the big D2C brands. So I think creators, where they lie, they are building their own audience. Where if they launch brands eventually, they don't need to spend ads, ad money or anything. If you remove that cost, you're a profitable company.
Yeah, because you already have an online distribution channel.
Yeah.
And it really changes when, I guess, yeah, that makes sense. But just what I'm getting at is a lot of people are hyped about creators and their distribution. Sadly, in India, not every distribution is convertible.
Yeah.
Because you can't, like, if you have a tier 3 audience, you have to sell them tier 3 stuff,
Yeah.
right? So when it comes to economics, I've got tons of friends who've started D2C brands as creators. Not everyone is making money.
Again, I think you kind of hit the nail on the spot that if you have to know your audience, right? If your audience is more tier 3, you can't sell them something for 2,000 rupees, right? If your audience is tier 1 and it's a smaller audience, you can. A lot of the times people, don't get that. That's the reason why Bollywood people haven't been able to launch a successful.
नहीं कर पाए हैं. Because they're tier 0, but their audiences are all tier 3. The cult, the fan cult is all tier 3.
That's what I'm saying. Whereas someone like, let's say, I don't know what example to use, but let's say, I think he came on your show, Finance with Sharan.
Yeah.
He's cracked it.
Yeah.
He has a good audience who's interested in finance.
Super tier 1, yeah.
Let's say that 2-3 million people who follow him. He's cracked that. He knows that these people will be able to buy what course I sell them or what information I sell them. That's a no-brainer. But if you mess up that, you have to find product market fit. If your market is tier 3, you're trying to sell tier 1, it's not going to happen. And I think that's where a lot of people mess up. And that's why the West is different, because the purchasing power and the disposable income in the West is so high that, a Kim Kardashian or a Logan Paul can make billion-dollar revenue brands because the disposable income is so high, everyone can afford something for $20 or $30. Out here, if you price something at 3,000-4,000 rupees, it's an expensive thing, right? It's not going to happen. And the tier 1 in India are buying Western brands. I think that will change eventually.
Yeah.
Definitely. And the purchasing power will. That's the whole bet on India, right? Why is everyone so gaga about India? It's because we have the most population and we have the fastest growing GDP, or, our GDP is growing super fast. Eventually, what's going to happen? This is the bet that everyone's going to be wealthier. Everyone's going to have more disposable income. Everyone's going to be able to spend more money on goods and services. So then these brands will work. The same reason why Bhuvan Bam hasn't made a $1 billion brand. He can, if his audience could afford something for a few thousand rupees, which will happen. Maybe he's too early, but maybe someone who's hearing this or is starting content right now and 7 years later or 8 years later can start a brand successfully and flourish.
Like, just think about the average Gen Z employee that cracks a tech job, which is absurd. Thinking we're the same age. I'm 27, you're 26. If we were 16 or 17 and we were offered an internship, we would make 5 to 10K if we were lucky back then, right? At a very coveted company, right? Interns ko kam pay karte hain. But our counterparts who were 26, 27, they would be fortunate or privileged 10 years ago to be able to have a job that paid them 30K. Yeah. Now I know many Gen Z employees at tech companies. Someone's going to be a community manager and they're going to have ESOPs and 1 lakh per month.
Because also the companies have more to play with. They have more money to play with. A lot of Western, all this money that's coming into India, these deals you see raising 20 million, 30 million, it's a lot of foreign money, right? It's the West foreign investors that are LPs, limited partners of these VCs, are funding these funds here, and these guys are deploying it in companies here. So when founders and companies have access to so much capital, they don't mind paying for the best talent. Although it's kind of getting less now, because till a year or two back, everyone was rolling in cash startups, and they were paying these crazy salaries. It's all coming down right now. Engineers are making 6, 7, 8 lakhs a month. That's coming down again. Also that's because it's becoming easier to code.
Yeah.
Right. So again, we are in a very interesting time right now, which is that what should one study today? Should it be engineering? I don't know. Right?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Like, do you just learn via YouTube ki mujhe coding kaise karni hai, and then immediately,
That's the cool part. Today you can learn anything on YouTube. You can learn absolutely anything. I think we are at a very interesting point.
I was having a discussion with my EA and she said, I want to learn digital marketing. I said, please don't, because it's all outdated and redundant. And whenever institutes start teaching a degree in something that was innovative 10 years ago, it's already lost its charm, right? So I also even question the veracity of degrees sometimes when I think a foreign degree is good in the way that it gives you exposure to other cultures. Maybe the education is top notch, sure. Like there is a eternally fearful Indian who thinks that if they keep getting degrees, something miraculous is going to happen. But look at our gig economy, right? I know people who've done master's degrees. Making more money as someone who works at Blinkit or Zomato. It's absurd,
Yeah, man.
right? So the non-education gig economy revolution is happening right now. And it would be foolish to wait 4, 5, 6, 10 years to start finally making money when we can make it now.
Definitely. I think upskilling yourself is now not expensive. It's free. You can learn anything, coding, marketing, anything. You can learn anything about startups just on YouTube.
Do you upskill? Do you think about this? Like, what am I not good at? How do I?
I think what I need to learn is, my 4 years of TraqCheck has been school for me, man. Like, I think for me, my main job is managing, putting the vision. I know that this is where the company has to go. Of course, raising the funding, making sure that the company is, afloat and doing well financially, and hiring the best people, because you can't do everything yourself. You have to learn the art of delegation.
Talk to me more about that.
Most successful entrepreneurs in the world have mastered delegation. If there's something that you can delegate for a certain amount of, salary or money, delegate it. Because your time as a founder is the most valuable.
What do you not delegate?
You can't delegate, for example, where the company should go, right? Like I can't, delegate that. I can't delegate pitching to an investor, you shouldn't delegate that. You can't delegate, how you want to position your brand, how, you want to speak about your brand. I think what you can delegate is a lot of operational things.
Right.
You can delegate a lot of engineering. If the founders are engineers, they can delegate that. It's more from a high level thing. Like my co-founder is an engineer, but he doesn't really code anymore, right? He's building the infrastructure and he's telling people, okay, this is what we have to build. Let's build in this direction, right? For me, it's I sit with my sales team and I'm like, we need these contracts. How do we get these contracts? Let's brainstorm. You're wearing different hats as a founder. You're trying to make departments that scale. If you can't find scale, it's not like, like look at the Zepto guys, they've killed it, right?
Right.
Absolute rock stars. They've, it sounds crazy that a 21 or 22-year-old is running a company which has raised billions of dollars and is doing $1 billion in revenue or whatever they're doing, right? They've made systems that scale. I don't think they are going to every warehouse or, on a daily or a weekly basis, right?
Sure.
They're probably launching in a city, finding the correct people. Okay, this is where we have to open our dark stores. This is the strategy. That's what they're doing. So that can't be delegated. But what you can delegate is the operational stuff by hiring the correct people. So you really have to also figure out hiring the best and correct people.
But how do you set a vision here? I'm only asking this selfishly as personal advice because in the last few months, I've been thinking about what do I do next? How do I take this forward? And do you sit with yourself? Do you write? Like, what do you do?
I look at a top-down approach. For at least my company, I know that globally the market is worth $10 billion.
So you look at the market.
Yeah. Where is this money being spent on background checks? The UK, the US, in these countries, right? I have to figure out a way to launch my product and my platform in those countries. That's how I look at vision. How do I get 10% market share of $10 billion, in the next 5 years? How do I do that?
So you get methodical code.
Yeah, I get methodical. I know exactly, okay, we have to, put this much money in this market. We have to put this much money in this market. We have to build this product for this market. We have to hire these many people in London to get these many clients. So for me, it's very top down because it's like the numbers are there. The data is there. I know how big the market is. I know where companies are spending money for background checks. I just have to reach them. So for me, it's like I think of vision from that point of view.
Do your emotions not get in the way?
In terms of what?
In terms of taking strange directions because they sound fun and exciting.
No, man, like I take very data driven decisions. I know it sounds very boring and
Nahin,
you
that's
know,
okay. That's how
but
you make money.
yeah, man, I know, like for example, like if you know, if the market is somewhere else, then you know we have to push money there. We have to hire people there. If I don't want to go there, uh, bad luck. I have to, if that's good for business, right? So for me, I mean, for business, I don't really get involved in emotion. Like I don't get my emotions really involved in.
But I think that's also a skill to be able to go past what you think is right. Sometimes you have as a creative person, you have a strong creative bent and you've got strong emotions about how you feel about certain things, convictions and passions. And you're so right. Sometimes you just have to be cold blooded and go where the money is. Otherwise, because I think many people mistakenly find entrepreneurship attractive because they think of extremely visionary founders who bend the world to their will and their emotions, and everyone else followed suit. But I think the mistake we make is there's such rare exceptions, right? Most of the guys do it in a very unglamorous, cold way and get it there. Like for every Steve Jobs, there's 100 operators who did it quietly, build the same amount of money. But you just think about this man who, you know, put fucking calligraphy in iPhones and, you know, like travel across the world. तो मुझे भी ऐसा esoteric hippie founder type का बनना है.
I think now because of, you know, maybe Shark Tank India, I mean, Shark Tank USA and all was there from before, but now people are thinking of entrepreneurship from a very fame angle.
Yeah.
But it's not a very glamorous job. Like, I mean, it's nothing fancy. You know, you're still going to office. You don't work 9 to 5. Sometimes you work even longer.
Yeah.
There's more stress also.
Why not go to Bangalore so you can be around more businessmen, more tech, more innovation? Why do it here?
I think Delhi is a great place to build, man. I think there's a lot of talent in Delhi and Gurgaon, a lot of good companies. I think for us, our market is abroad, so we have to spend more time globally.
More on Google Meets as opposed to...
No, but I'm saying, but we, like, as founders also, we are starting to and will eventually have to spend more time abroad because our markets are abroad. It's all depending on your company, where your market is. You know, if you're a Zomato or a, you know, Blinkit, then your market is India. So you know you have to spend time where your customers are and you know where the money will be made. But yeah, I think it's a misconception now that you need to be in Bangalore. I think Delhi has insane companies, man. Great companies.
I mean, there's Zomato here. You could build it here.
Yeah, there's Lenskart, there's Zomato, there's BharatPay. There's so many great companies.
I saw you mentioned you're not Logan Paul and Logan Roy.
Yeah.
In Succession. बहुत कम मेरे को लोग मिले who really loved the show. There was a very polarizing reactions to the show.
Yeah.
Have you watched it?
Yeah, amazing show, man.
Have you, like, what's your favorite character?
Ooh, I like Logan Roy.
Yeah. You don't like Kendall? You don't like the
I think
damaged
he tried
Scion?
he tried to backstab his family too many times in the show. Kind of stupid because I mean.
मेरे को लगता है वो बुरा आदमी नहीं था. I think he was just a little fucked up.
I don't think बुरा था, but I'm just like, I mean, I think that you know, at the end of the day, you didn't start your company. You know what I mean? Like it's your father's company, so what
both of them make your own billions.
Exactly. You try to backstab him, then you know how's that gonna end? You know, we saw how it ended.
Yeah, but like it's a very good show, and after that I got very intrigued by the world of extreme wealth, and then I started watching Billions. Have you watched Billions?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I love Billions.
Yeah, Bobby Axelrod, amazing show. Man.
Yeah. But the show compared to Succession isn't as cinematic because they go it becomes a lot like The Blacklist and CSI या जो भी वो shows होते हैं ना जहाँ पे बीच में premise similar होता है.
Succession is shot a lot handheld. I don't know if you noticed. A lot of the times it shook. The frame kind of shook. It wasn't tripod based shooting.
Okay.
It was very raw. I don't know if you noticed. Like it was very dark.
It was something strange cinematically.
It was made by completely indie filmmakers, I would say. Like it was like very handheld or very amazing. Like you felt like you're in that room. right?
Far more.
Yeah, like you felt
But
like you're
billions
sitting.
billions you feel slightly plastic and sterile.
That was more glamorous.
Yeah.
It was more. I would say it seemed more professionally. Everything is shot more like a show. Succession was more like sometimes you felt like you're in the pan. Like if I'm talking like a filmmaker, but they kept on panning the camera right to left. Like it was cool. Like when I saw the show, the kind of camera techniques they used, I was like, damn, that's really smart.
Also, bringing back the classical Western music, that score back to a series is very important, because Game of Thrones first came around with that that whole style is making a resurgence, and then Succession knocked it out of the park. Because the last
Even
time
in India, that scam,
सबने करना शुरू कर दिया.
all the.
So it was so funny. जब Game of Thrones आया, similar last season के time पे Sacred Games आया, and I remember Sacred Games had a similar like chessboard, something happening, and a similar. It became a staple to have larger than life cinematic scores as opposed to having like a cool song. But Succession, they've used like adagios, C minor, G minor, very classical music.
Yes.
And the last time I felt like that was with the Godfather movies, because that was an iconic soundtrack, and Succession, I think, has come very close to achieving that.
Yeah, great show, man.
Yeah. Very fun. So what's next with the vlogs?
I don't know. I'm just having fun posting weekly. I try to post once a week. They're doing well. I mean, I know, like, I think I've cracked how to get views if you make it
Bata de yaar, mujhe bhi, I want to crack Instagram.
I think one thing that's working is my method is I write it first.
Okay.
Yeah.
The dialogues.
I write the script.
Yeah.
And it takes me like 20 minutes. I write 5 vlogs. I write my next 1 month vlogs. And then I just shoot my day. I don't go out of the way. Whatever I'm doing, I'm going to the gym, I'll shoot it. If I'm going to work.
But how does it make sense if you're... But right, your writing is not very documentational style. It's more like a...
Yeah,
narrative.
I'm the subject of the vlogs. So like I know I'm going to write about myself and around my life. And then it kind of like the shorts kind of fit in. Like, I mean, I'm going to work, I'm going to the office. Sometimes I travel. So like, I know if I'm going somewhere, I'll write something. Like I did a vlog when I went to Agra with my girlfriend, and that did really well. Got like, I think 2.6 million. And it just, I knew I'm going to Agra. So like, I knew that I have to like write something around.
And you just do front cam stuff and just film in the gym, and how do you piece it together? Premiere Pro pe basic, just sit on it?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes Premiere Pro, sometimes I have something called Filmer or something on my phone. Editing comes very easy to me. So like, I mean, you could say I could edit professionally, right? So this is like, it's pretty easy.
How do you do subtitles?
Instagram has that automatic thing now.
Right,
Captions.
so you do it right when the video is made, you just put it on top.
Yeah, but now there's so many softwares that can just pull up your subtitles and all. But yeah, so I write it first, then I shoot it. I write it, I record the audio, then I shoot it and edit it. So that's
So what if the audio doesn't match with the day?
That's what I have to figure out. Like that's the hard part. Like I kind of speak. So like whatever I'm writing, I try to write it as like that. Okay, I'll be able to record something. Like if I make a joke about the gym, then I know that I have to be in the gym and I record that stuff.
I'm gonna steal this and show it to you.
Done.
On Instagram.
Yeah. So that is that's the thing, but you have to make it like very shareable. Like I made a vlog about Delhi Sangeet parties. And that blew like...
You talked about something that was trending in this season. You talked about how dudes will have the same outfit, etc.
Yeah, man. So like every line that I wrote for that vlog, I knew could be shared. So my idea was everything I'm going to write should be like someone should share it with their friend. Right. So I wrote that, we Delhi Heights, that, the invite says 8. We'll go at 12. Someone will share to the friend, this is you. Aisa tu karta hai, right? Sometimes then I wrote that, after 2 tequila shots, uncles forget that they're 70 years old and 2 bypass surgeries deep. Now that's funny, right? People are sharing that with their friends.
Right.
Or, like after, 2 a.m., all the I don't watch Bollywood crowd will start dancing to Karan Johar movies, right? Now that is all like super...
So you deliberately plant every line so that
shareable.
It hits someone, it's shareable.
Yeah.
You're not trying to be esoteric and talk about yourself too much in a way that's showing how cool you are
I
necessarily.
mean, it's so since I'm the subject of the vlogs, they are going to be pretty much all about me and around me. But if I make it too much about me also, then it'll eventually die down. You know, how much will people watch the same thing? So I think when I travel, then good content comes when I go to a nice
Have you
wedding.
been recognized yet in public?
Yeah, it's actually funny. So I think my kind of audience is a lot of tier 1 audience. I'm getting
Yeah.
a lot of because also I only make English content.
Yeah,
So
of
like
course.
if I go to like a mall or like a restaurant, people are coming up or at the airport. So, I mean, some people reach my office also like weirdly that day. So like it's kind of like weird because like it's not too many followers, I would
Right.
say, but maybe people are buying followers. That's why people don't get recognized. I don't know. But like with 100K, I'm seeing people are like taking pictures or coming up, which is kind of strange. But
Aadat pad gayi hai. But you're used to it because you're a founder. You're anyway used to meeting
no, man.
strangers.
I mean,
no?
I mean, people maybe come up, see a fundraising article, and see, oh, you're the guy from
Right,
TraqCheck.
right.
But yeah, nothing like that, man.
You're used to fame now.
There's no fame, man.
No, I'm saying because it's only going to blow up from here. So
I don't know. I'm very curious to see where this goes in like a year from now. If I
it
keep,
gets very exciting. It's like
if I keep at it, let's see how much this will grow.
initially when it happened to me, I was like, oh, meri privacy, mera chain. Like now I can't write in public. And like, now when people come up to me, I'm very happy that it happens. And it's so strange. Like when people deeply connect to something you do or say, or have been watching your stuff for a very long time, they have so much to share, but they hold back because surprisingly, most people are very, very smart and respectful of your space. But I think it's the biggest compliment when your online distribution converts offline.
Definitely. So on our website, so we have a page where companies can come and reach out. Before the vlog, like we would get like 5-6 people reach out, like maybe hundreds and maybe thousands of people reach out now on the websites. It's helped for hiring a lot of crazy good engineers, like IIT people. They're the hardest to convince. Like
But they come because of your personality.
You'll have to buy them, like companies are gifting them MacBooks and Apple Watches as joining bonuses.
Wow.
Forget a IIT Kharagpur guy. People, they watch my vlogs, they want to work with me, or like, it's cool, it's kind of aspirational. We get like so many people that, say, oh, we watched Jaibir's vlogs, you want to work at TraqCheck. So it's helped that way. The cultures become cool. Because it's very hard to convince someone to work for a B2B company. If I was a Zepto or a Zomato, it's cool, because
you can wear the Zepto t-shirt, be around everywhere,
and it's popular,
wins.
na? I mean, people like everyone's ordering on Zepto or Zomato. TraqCheck you don't hear of because there's only 200 people that use the product. Companies,
right.
Like big companies are using it, but like normal person doesn't know about what we do, So I think it's very hard to recruit. But when I made that kind of desirable, I made it kind of desirable to want to work at TraqCheck. I think we're getting a lot of good talent that's reaching out.
You're also a case for it doesn't have to be boring LinkedIn gyan.
It can't. No one will watch.
मतलब नहीं पर आज भी bro इतने सारे बंदे every single time a company becomes profitable or even the founder feels like we need more sales, the first instinct is ज्ञान छोड़ो. मतलब ज्ञान की बातें करो.
Honestly,
how to build a business, how to hire, how to think about employees.
I honestly can't help you that much because again, it's not that I made some $10 billion company.
No, it's not even about the imposter syndrome or the fact that you're younger. You're being very humble, by the way, right? It's not that. I think it's just that that's the instinct because people, even if they work in B2C, they only think through business platforms. They only think through business terms. They feel like it's sort of a disservice or a distraction to their business if they showcase their personal side. But lately, with examples like yours, it's on the contrary.
Man, like for me, my content is just I love to entertain. Like it's too much fun. Like if I'm making you laugh or like have a good day, that feels damn good. From a business point of view, I get that. A lot of people are doing that. I genuinely don't feel that I can give too much knowledge. I genuinely don't feel. I think the success, whatever little success that we've got is just because of putting in for 4.5 years of not giving up. Or kuch nahi hai. Like, of course, it's not like I'm the smartest person in the world or I'm some, brilliant mind or something. I just have worked hard. It's as simple as that. 4.5 saal we've put in effort. 3 years we didn't make any money, do anything. Now it started to snowball. So I think what gyan will I give really? And plus I think it's getting too saturated. Like it's boring now. Like 5 people are talking about, how to raise funding. You know, like you would rather listen to some founder who's raised a lot. You know what I mean? Like for me, like again, the reason I'm getting these crazy views is because it's entertaining. It's funny. It's, you know, people are sharing it. They, you know, it's aspirational or whatever it is, but it's just fun. And that's the content I've grown up on. I watched Casey, you know, Logan and all while growing up in college and school. So that's the kind of content it's fun to make. Honestly, I'm making it because it's fun. If people are watching or not watching, I would still make it. I did so much vlogging back and no one watched it. So, so it's fun.
Like the whole idea about overnight success, even as a young founder, like of course, you know, they cracked it early, 26 pay. They've like, but people don't realize that with content, I don't know about companies. It's if your first iteration gets successful and viral, you're in for a very dangerous career because you get cocky based on false principles and luck. So it takes so many iterations to arrive at product market fit in content.
Definitely.
And you have to wrap your head around so many things. I've made everything from self-help to writing, मैंने सब कर रखा है, to poetry, to all this shit, till this thing stuck. And it's just if you start early in your 20s, you're going to start popping off by your late 20s, sometimes even longer.
You know, like with content for me is, I love, as I said, I love media. Today my medium is Instagram. I can't help it. That's the only medium that I have time and access, you know, energy.
It's also the fastest to make.
Exactly. Maybe YouTube, again, it's longer format. I would love, if I get a little more time, I would love to make some vlogs there.
You can just repost the reels or shorts just
to
get some going.
But I also do want to make some more long form in like more cinematic, but like keep it funny. Let's see. I think, but like eventually, I don't know. I genuinely want to write scripts. Not today, maybe in the future. Again, there's no age limit for that, right? I genuinely do see myself writing scripts, maybe producing if I make a lot of money. I don't know. I would love to produce. I would love to direct. So film is something that I mean, media is something I love doing, and eventually I will do something in it on a much bigger scale. I think.
What's a good film camera to buy? I'm considering that. You know, when I was in college, I would go to these women's dorms and they would all have those Polaroid ki wo photos of their doston ki, and I would feel so friendless and horrible that I don't have that for my friends.
I mean, so I used Ari Alexas in college. There was a Ari Alexa Mini which I used.
It's a film camera?
Yeah. Red is
Red is very unaffordable, I think. Only
so again, so like unfortunately, like film school, they make you use the best. So I did that. But I mean, today our phones are so good. There's no excuse anymore. 4K recording.
No, I mean, like if I wanted to shoot like photography film, like
I don't know. So I'm not into photography.
Okay.
I'm into motion.
There's no parallels in the two genres.
I don't know. I've always been interested in like storytelling. People would argue you can storytell through pictures. I do think so. I don't think that I'm good at that. I'm good at storytelling. Like again, the 3-act thing, the setup, the conflict resolution. I'm good in putting that in. I'm good in framing shots and.
What's the setup? So it's premise, conflict resolution, and then what?
It's just 3. It's setup, conflict
resolution. Okay.
Yeah.
Acha, it's a storytelling structure, no?
Yeah. So if you see like the most successful, you know,
it's all stories. It's all stories.
Like sometimes YouTubers and all seem frivolous, right? Let's say like a Mr. Beast or something. But the amount of scientific approach that goes into these videos is absolutely insane. That they actually sit and figure out their 3-act structure. They figure out their 3-point lighting, you know. They figure out their sound design. It's very methodical. And I think the best of the best, like that's why I say Casey's example. This guy, if a filmmaker watches his videos, he'll be like, damn, this is great shit. Like this is like, he's like a film director making vlogs, right? So yeah.
Yeah, but the stories also, I remember in my school days, I bought this course on Coursera called The Art of Story Writing.
Yeah.
And that's when I discovered this triangle. Ki the protagonist is at the start, loser life, kuch nahi chal raha, then a call to action happens. He rejects the call to action or the call to adventure. After some time, he takes it up. And he was using the example of Harry Potter. Harry Potter Dursley's ke paas hai. Baitha hua Hagrid aata hai, nahi manta. Second time he does it. And so there is that inflection point where he responds to the call to adventure of having a potentially better life. And he leaves what is known, his village, the Dursley's home, etc. You can place this in all stories. Peter
Yeah.
Parker,
Yeah.
Spider-Man से पहले फुद्दू है, Spider-Man
Yeah,
का वो वाली चीज़ आई है, right?
Exactly.
So initially, then what happens is, but then at that time also,
Yeah.
the biggest enemy reveals himself.
Yeah.
But you're nowhere close to fighting the enemy right now. So you build up to having small problems, solving the problems. You acquire allies, you fight small enemies.
Yeah.
And the climax moment is where you face your biggest fear, right?
Yeah.
Or you confront the thing that the tension in the background of the film,
Like
right?
look at Avengers Endgame. Thanos, the
Right.
ending was the resolution, right?
That was the resolution, right? But
Goddamn, yeah.
so what they also say is, if at the climax you fail, it's not the climax yet.
Yeah.
So they've basically put in a pseudo climax.
Yeah.
So फिर एक और ऐसी जगह आएगी, suddenly you've got the power up and suddenly you can do it. It's the crescendo of the film.
Yeah.
Then everything else from that. Usually nowadays the movies cut it down to the last 10 minutes जहाँ पे हाँ इन दोनों की भी शादी हो गई, इनकी भी दोस्ती हो गई, this figured out, this was like a lukewarm ending. But people talk about they want more variety in film. But this is what audiences respond to.
No man, like, at least in India, we desperately need good writers. It's so important, man. Like, I mean, and the thing is, if you don't pay them, why will anyone write?
Right.
Right? Like, I mean, let's say I love to write. I mean, would I rather do something else or write? I mean, from a commercial point of view, it makes no sense to write.
No, I think some people are paid very well, but it's very competitive.
The best of the best.
Yeah.
But like, they have to incentivize it. I mean, I would love to write some movies, but I don't have time. I mean, I would generally love to write. Like, that kind of shit moves me.
Yeah. Anyway, man, it was very fun to have you on the podcast and
Thank you for
discuss
having
all of these things. Where can people follow you?
Yeah, on Instagram, it's at HeyJNS. Very easy to find. That's just.
Or if there's 0.5% people watching who want some background checks.
Yeah, just go to. Thank you. go to TraqCheck.com and fill the form. The reason I don't plug this much is because maybe, I don't know, maybe on your show some corporates are watching. So
sure,
if they are, then definitely go to TraqCheck.com and fill the form. And
tons of rich people watch it. They come up to me, but they're very silent. So it's a very mixed audience of people. But yeah, if you're in this, and I love your vlogs. I wish you the best.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Diwali.
Thank you.
Okay, done.
That was fun.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers, man. Cheers.